The Bible does not tell us how each apostle died. It records the death of only two apostles, James, the son of Zebedee, who was beheaded by King Herod Agrippa Barmon in AD 44, Acts 12:1, and Judas Iscariot, who committed suicide by hanging himself after betraying Jesus, Matthew 27:5. For the other apostles, we have to rely on historical sources and church traditions, which are not always consistent or reliable. Here is a brief summary of the most common accounts of how the apostles died. Peter, crucified upside down in Rome under Emperor Nero around AD 64 to 68. Andrew, crucified on an X-shaped cross in Patras, Greece after preaching in Asia Minor and Scythia. John, the only apostle who died a natural death, he lived to an old age and died in Ephesus, Turkey, around AD 100 to 105. He was exiled to the island of Patmos for a while, where he wrote the book of Revelation, Revelation 1:9. Philip, martyred in Hierapolis, Turkey, either by crucifixion or by being stoned to death, after preaching in North Africa and Asia Minor. Bartholomew, also known as Nathaniel, he was flayed alive and then beheaded in India or Armenia, after preaching in India, Ethiopia, Mesopotamia, and Armenia. Thomas, speared to death in Mylapore, India, after preaching in Parthia and India. Matthew, also known as Levi, he was killed by a sword or a spear in Ethiopia or Persia, after preaching in Ethiopia, Macedonia, Syria, and Parthia. James, son of Alphaeus, also known as James the Less, he was stoned to death in Jerusalem after preaching in Palestine and Egypt. Jude, also known as Thaddeus or Judas, son of James, he was clubbed to death in Beirut, Lebanon, along with Simon the Zealot after preaching in Mesopotamia, Persia, and Syria. Simon the Zealot, also known as Simon the Canaanite, he was sawn in half in Persia after preaching in Egypt, Mauritania, Africa, Britain, and Persia. Matthias, chosen to replace Judas Iscariot, he was stoned and then beheaded in Jerusalem after preaching in Judea and Ethiopia. Paul, not one of the original 12, but called by Jesus as the apostle to the Gentiles, Acts 9:15, he was beheaded in Rome under Emperor Nero around AD 64 to 68, after preaching in Asia Minor, Greece, and Rome.